We're hoping for a fairly large day today. Got 300 acres that is going to cut northeast of Mattoon, so probably about 15 miles away from here. Just got to do the fuel tank shuffle before we get started. Everything needs to leave with a full tank. Dad's going to set the corn head on the ground because obviously we don't need the corn head to cut soybeans. I'm going to go set the other draper on the trailer because it's still on the combine. It's not too challenging to drive down the road with a draper 100 yards. I don't think you're going to make it 15 miles. Dad must have snuck the S670 into the fuel tank last night because it appears to be full. All we need is a pickup truck to pull that draper, and this combination is ready to go to the northeast. This is definitely one of those times where it'd be advantageous to pull your second draper with your combine or with the grain cart. I know a lot of people do it. A little bit of that for the road, help disperse some heat. I don't think we need it, but you never know. We'll also put the spout down into the storage position to get it out of the way a little bit. Katie and I are the only two main pieces of machinery that haven't left yet. She just fired up. I'm gonna head that way now too. I know the Uphoff boys are hard at it harvesting. They've already cut quite a few beans and picked a little corn just like us. Not only that, they're making us look slow. They've already got the oil well pipe finder out in the field. Oh wow, we're south of Mattoon here and someone's already got their strip tilling done on a farm. There's the old Coles County Memorial Airport. That place is buzzing like a beehive in the summer with all the spray planes that fly out of there. There is a very nice benefit to harvesting this week, and also a detriment. This road is closed up there because they're fixing a bridge. Normally it's super busy. The obvious bad news is that we can't go through here conveniently. We gotta alternate our route to get to the northwest where the elevator is. The good news is that there's virtually no traffic on this road right now. It's typically pretty busy. Leave it to Dad to make opening up a field, which should take about 4 minutes to cut down and back. Take at least 10 minutes because he's cutting a circle. 21% moisture, that's a little bit concerning. I doubt they're 21% because if they are, they would be as green as a gourd out here. Those are definitely still in the high teens. Really big beans, but that could be because they're moist. Those are probably 17, 18%. This morning is a classic example of hurry up and wait. We checked these beans yesterday evening. They were definitely dry, probably 11%. And this morning, they're about 19%, which is not something you can even send to the elevator. Even if you could try and blend them off, they would still average way too wet. Oh, the joys of cutting soybeans. Those have dried off a lot. It took less time than I was expecting. These beans may actually cut by noon. Okay, the moisture for the beans is 14 to 15, which is probably good to start. The beans themselves, especially with the ground being a little bit on the wet side, are kind of tough to cut. They're dragging up a lot. Because they're not super dry yet, we're just gonna go ahead and wait another 30 minutes or so, then fire them up and roll. Okay, we're doing it. We're heading to cut. Just look at the size of those beans there in the grain cart. few green ones, but that's what you want. It's all about the average. This farm is right north of the Sarah Bush Lincoln Hospital between Mattoon and Charleston. You can see right there is the life flight helicopter taking off. Hopefully whoever's in it or wherever they're going is in good shape. Looks like we timed this about right. Beans are getting close to 13% moisture. We're loading the trucks off, getting the ground running. Well, we've already hit our first snafu, 30 acres in. Katie just blew a hydraulic line on her draper. Here on this side, the leak has died off a little bit because I unplugged the multi-point connector, but she's down until we get that new line. The head mechanic's on the scene. He's gonna run off with Katie's combine and get that part, fix it. Katie's gonna run his combine.
Flip it over and put the nuts on.
You got tie cutter?
Oh, yeah.
Pull on that hose. Okay.
There's another.
That's got a big nick in it anyway.
It's getting to that age. I said that. It's just been.
Yeah. Big boat pulled in there.
You feel the hole? Think we better put it back on, try it. Take it out of there. Hook it back on.
Well, stand back because it was one of those holes that'll cut your finger off.
What's the moisture, Jeff?
13.1.
I think your combine's a little high, Dad.
Yeah.
Go start her up, try it, Ann. I don't know, you'll have to try it.
Is that the wrong one? Yes! Well, good thing we checked.
You think it's that one?
I'm not sure. I guessed wrong.
There it is, right
Dad
there.
guessed wrong. We're on to the third hose.
It's this one right
I'm
here.
not guessing.
Some of these are going to be replaced in the next couple of years because they're starting to rub on stuff.
Unhook that thing.
It's unhooked.
You want to put down a cheeseburger?
Dad ran to the John Deere dealership to get the replacement line for right here, and we're putting back together the lines that were wrong.
Yeah, we weren't sure that some of the others need replaced, so.
Well, they probably do, but we don't replace them until they break.
Yeah. That one, the first one we took off, has got a big kink in it. You're not supposed to break down on Saturday. You break down on Monday because you work on Sunday. That's the way it usually works.
That's true. But it's Saturday.
I know, that's what I mean.
The John Deere dealership's open. You should be working.
That's right.
You get out there to the
Sloan's is always open or whatever.
Andy, I'll need a dump soon.
duty calls. Will you
Yeah.
finish that, Jeff, there?
Tighten that, yeah.
I'll be back. Oh well, Katie, it was fun while it lasted. I don't think Dad wants to run the older machine. Not only does the S780 have more power than the S670, it's also a much more comfortable operator experience, which I assume he'd rather have. Unfortunately, our performance today has been lackluster. The elevator is open from 7 to 7. Couldn't even really start cutting the beans until 12:30, and then the combine breaks down. So we'll be lucky to get 125 to 130 acres done by the time we're out of trucks and out of space. It took him a whole 20 seconds. He's already got his foot on the foot pegs. Oh man, talk about a productivity killer. Katie's 630 FD Draper just blew another hydraulic line in the same exact spot we just fixed, and it's 5 o'clock, so there's no way we're gonna get that thing fixed tonight, but frustrating. Figure it out.
Oil, I didn't know if you wanted me to flip it on to try to find it. It's freaking everywhere.
Yeah.
Stand back, 'cause it was freaking.
Yeah, turn it on, I'll stand back.
The head.
Whatever it needs to do it. Yeah, it's not supposed to do that. It's that one. Stay up there for a second.
The big one? of those two, pretty much given, right? Where it was squirting out.
I almost wonder if it's that small one. Turn it on again, Katie. It's this one right here.
Yeah.
The front one? This one?
Yes. Right there.
If it's the first one we took off.
Yeah. It's the first one we broke that you thought was broke the first
Well,
one.
this is why I thought it was broken. Look at it. Look at how worn out it is.
Yeah, that's what I said. I would just replace them all.
We got the bad line off. The embarrassing part is that this is the first line we took off earlier when it broke. So I guess Jeff was right. We should have just replaced it while we had it off. Limping at home on this first 90 acres to end a very disappointingly productive day. I was hoping to get closer to 150, 160 acres cut, and then I thought, well, maybe 125 would be lucky. And at this point, we'll be lucky to get 100 cut by the time the elevator closes or the beans get too tough. We're just now diving into the western field. The eastern side was a little over 90 acres of those Pioneer 35T15 Enlist soybeans. It was the last of that variety we've had. Made about 78. I think that's fairly good given that farm, although these fields north of Mattoon seem to be performing better than our stuff down home. This is a Bex 33 XF3 soybean. I believe they're running 12 to 13% on the monitors. We really don't want to load a whole lot of these on the truck with how much they picked up moisture last night. We're afraid we'll get slammed with some 15 or 16% beans. We're going to load the cart and quit. Look at the size of these beans. Bex 33 XF3s. They're ginormous. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the best yielding bean. Impressive seed size though. They are still fairly dry. It's not going to take us very long to load what we have here at the field. $1 million question is how much moisture are they going to pick up overnight, both sitting on the grain cart and out here in the field. Check in with you guys tomorrow and let you know. They picked up a little moisture, not nearly as much as they did overnight yesterday. Those are ready to cut. Dad's on the phone over there gossiping with one of the neighbors. Had the craziest thing happen across from our farm this morning. I was sitting in the office looking out the window. Well, actually I was editing, but I can see out the windows to the road in front of the house. And I watched a gator and a pickup truck drive through the neighbor's bean field at like 7:40 in the morning. Very peculiar time for something like that to happen. It's usually an overnight deal with a little bit of alcohol involved. Anyways, called the neighbors, told them, hey, someone drove through your beans. You might want to check it out. Didn't really have any answers. And then we stopped by the John Deere dealership to get this hydraulic line. And they were on the phone with the police department. Someone had stolen that gator sometime overnight, and so they must have been out on a joyride. And I'm speculating that the other truck must have been an angered neighbor whose yard they drove through or something along those lines, because he was chasing him. But yeah, that was the excitement this morning. Dad's got the replacement hydraulic line on there. At the rate we're going, we'll have 4 more of them changed by the end of the day. Here's the game plan first thing this morning. It's just Dad and I here right now. We've got everything serviced, ready to go, hydraulic line fixed. Fairly certain that the beans are dry enough, so we've called in the rest of the troops. If the beans are too wet, we'll start the morning by blending some off with the 1,100 bushels of dry beans we have in the cart. That'll give us a dry average, or dry enough to send to the elevator. If they are dry, I'm just gonna go ahead and take this cart straight to the truck, load it, park it, and then go run the other combine until Katie shows up. 12%. They're definitely not 100 bushel beans, but looks like they're dry enough. We might as well get in the grain cart and dump this off. I made some room in the grain cart. I had to give my testimony to the sheriff deputy about what I witnessed this morning, and now I'm gonna go cut some beans. Well, that's good. There's no violent hydraulic leak coming from the draper on the left side. It's not supposed to do that. We've got a full day of cutting these Bex 33 XF3 soybeans. Pretty good sample for beans in the tank. Well, look at the size of those things. They're monstrous little beans. Oh, can a man just have a little fun in the combine without having to go back to the grain cart? Everyone's scared to death of that thing. It's got massaging seats. Just run it for a while. Maybe one of these days, just not today. I'm in Dad's combine. Won't start. Huh. It's regenning too, which is not a good time for this. Did it just die?
Yeah,
While it was regenning.
yeah.
That's not good.
Well, I can't help it.
I wasn't getting mad at you.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's not
Not
good.
long enough for the battery off?
Probably.
Try it. Got it shut off again?
I guess it sounds like it's not firing. I don't think he plugged it. It's just not working. The bad part about this is that while it's regenning, it actually needs to cool off before you shut it off. So I was screaming that it needed to cool down, it needed to be running to cool down, but you can't cool it down because it won't even start.
No one's gonna answer today.
It is Sunday.
I know. I tried that. No, it was regenning when it was doing it. But I don't think one had anything to do with the other. I didn't see any codes. Did you see a code, Andy?
No. I mean, there's a million fuses in here. What is a dosing pump? Fuel transfer pump? F56? Does it sound like it's firing?
It tried to, I think. Here, Andy. Marty again.
Hey, Marty.
All these fuses, we looked at the ECU fuse, it was 25 amp and it's good. So there's so many fuses here, which one should I look at?
We tried turning it over for a little bit. It did end up starting, and then it just kind of puttered out.
Oh, I'd say it's got fuel, don't you?
Yep.
Definitely does. The combine's running. It hasn't puttered out after 5+ minutes. Dad thinks there may be something wrong with the fuel pump. My concern would be that we open this wide open, start cutting beans, and then it dies, and in the process plugs the machine out. Quick little update. Dad's cutting right now. Combine's running fine. I'll put a picture of what he found in the sediment filter. That's that first little fuel filter we took off on the way to the fuel pump. There was a plug in there that we didn't recognize. Dad talked to one of the mechanics, one of the best mechanics in Mattoon. We actually sent him a picture of it.
Andy, you get time, send that picture to Chris Ashworth, too.
Copy that. He wants me to send it to the shop foreman too. The mechanic said that that is a plug used for working on the fuel lines. The peculiar part about that is that's a 330-hour machine. We've owned it since it was brand new, and I don't recall it ever being worked on. There's never been a mechanic working on the fuel line, so that's an interesting issue. I'm not sure. I talked to Ron from Hartung Family Farms. He said that those lines are probably plugged before they're installed at the factory, meaning the fresh line needs to be unplugged before it's hooked up. So there's a slight possibility, I guess, that for the last 330 hours, that combine's been running with a plug in the line somewhere, yet it never had any issues till today. Sometimes weird things happen like that. You never know when the dominoes are gonna fall. I will say that I guess if my tractor, Katie's combine, has an issue at all today or the next couple days related to fuel, we could probably speculate that there was some tampering, but for now we'll just assume that maybe it was a mishap from the factory. That combine's never been worked on before, especially not the fuel system, so there's no reason there'd be a plug from our dealership in it. Allie, Lenny, and Graham brought some Jimmy Johns for lunch, and we found out that this Lankota organizer also serves as a overflow buddy seat. Okay, Lenny, you're in charge of those cameras.
Hydraulic pressure down to 1100, 1080, somewhat the case.
Say something. Okay, a few hours have passed. I don't want to really mention anything for running the risk of jinxing us, although I don't personally believe in that. Both combines have just been absolutely chewing through the beans. No other issues have persisted with Dad's S780. Whatever that plug in the line was what was going on. We've had 3 breakdowns on this farm so far over the last 2 days. We've got a little over 300 acres here. If we put the hammer down, we'll get fairly close to done tonight. It's Sunday, the elevator's only open till 5, so pretty much gonna run out of space before anything. We will probably load everything though when it's all said and done. Unfortunately, these beans are fairly dry, 10 to 11%, cutting super easy, so the combines are just flying through the field right now. There's a give and take to wet beans. Dry ones cut really easy, they don't burn a lot of fuel, but you do lose a little bit of that moisture weight that gives you a bushel to 1.1 bushels per point of moisture. We are 10 to 11%. I told you guys not to say anything. Literally 30 seconds later, Katie does something to her head. Figure it out. They just come across and pull under. I can think of much faster ways to get to the field than this, but whatever works, right? Are the beans dry?
They're 13 and 14.
Okay, so you want me to go get the cart?
You what?
You want me to go get in the grain cart?
It's full, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and run out and dump on the truck a little bit, let you keep dry out.
No, okay, see ya. This is the first little patch of dirt we've worked this season, and it looks fairly good. I think I need to figure out how to level this true set tillage vertical till, because one of the floater wheels out there, the wing stabilizer wheels, is not level, and it's making that side of the implement kind of dig deeper into the ground. So could be better. Unless we're running that inline ripper, a lot of times we don't even work our soybean stubble. We do put some anhydrous on in the fall, which could slightly be considered tillage, although it's kind of minimal. The reason we're chopping this up is because this farm in particular is on the docket for that land shaping project we did last fall down southeast of town. They're going to do the same thing up here on this farm. The goal is to come in here, use the OptiSurface program. Essentially that would optimize the drainage out here. We finally did it. 310 acres in the bag. I was hoping to get it in 2 good days of work, but knowing the way we operate, it's not surprising that it took 2 and a few extra hours. Okay, now to orchestrate the logistical headache of moving everything with not enough help. That's a big old load of beans on the cart. We'll let the truck drivers figure that one out. We moved about halfway to home. We were northeast of Mattoon. Now we're right adjacent to Mattoon on the west side. Combines are just now coming down the road. Took about 30 minutes. Okay, both combines are hooked up. It's off to the races. Chris and I are gonna go get the grain cart. We can just head north now and never look back. Only take us about 7 hours to get to Chicago with the grain cart. Better never than late. No, wait, never late than better. Better late than never, there you go. These are the last of our Beck's beans. They are that 3555 XF that we cut first that made over 80. This is a very fertile field, but it's got a lot of drainage issues, especially compared to the relative size of the field, so I'm not sure they'll be able to make 80. Most of our beans have been 70 to 80 so far. This is one of those fields that takes longer to hook and unhook than it does to harvest. We'll be headed back home shortly. You can see right there on the right side of the road where those yahoos drove the stolen gator and the pickup truck through the neighbor's field. Since it was en route, I took the opportunity to run by home and see the kids, the wife, and the dogs. Nah, just kidding. It's nap time. They're asleep anyways, other than the dogs. I desperately needed to find a toilet and to grab a snack. Hey, don't judge me, fellow farmers. We've all been there. Okay, we are about a mile southwest of the main farm, which is up that way, back on these Don Mario 34E11 soybeans that we had to leave a handful of days ago because they were too wet. I haven't peeked in on Dad's monitor, but based on the dust, they look dry now. We're back on our own stuff right now, so we got to finish filling that bin back at Jeff's house. This last load with the 10-wheeler ought to do it. So Dad's gonna go supervise the topping off of the bin. We're gonna run the big machine. These are the Don Mario 34E11 soybeans. They ought to yield pretty good based on looks alone for whatever that's worth. The only thing that's going to hold them down in this lower lying area of the field is that it's prone to some pretty extreme ponding / flooding if you get a big rain. And we did have a fairly large rain at the end of June into July, definitely enough to slow down the low areas of soybeans. You can actually see one of the worst spots right there. The only thing that's alive is water hip. Sorry, Katie. Grain cart guy's on vacation right now. Wow. These Don Marios, even at 10% moisture, are pulling the weight in on this combine, running 80 to 90. And just think, we're at 10.5%, so we're giving up every bit of 3 bushel an acre just because they're too dry. That lazy, good-for-nothing grain cart driver. It's hard to find good help nowadays. You can just tell by the sound of the combine that there's some good beans through this strip. Just think, we were one good rain away from having 80-plus bushel beans across the whole farm, even with that dry June. I got kicked out after about 20 minutes. Dad's back in his machine, so the bin must be full. And here's that dog that always comes and visits us at this field. Hey, you should not be out here. You should go home. These Don Mario 34E11s are yielding great. They're a little troublesome to cut though, very tough, even at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's just a variety specific thing. Some soybeans are really easy to cut, others not so much. They're not necessarily burning more fuel, however, Katie keeps dragging up on her head. Dad is too intermittently. Could be that she's not setting everything right. I give her the benefit of the doubt on that and say that these beans are just tough. Okay, I just offloaded the last bit of beans from this field. The Don Mario 34 E11s made 80 bushel an acre dry, average across the field. For no reason at all, Dad's just in one of those hurry, hurry, hurry moods and doesn't explain what exactly he wants and then gets angry at everyone else for not understanding, but it's really his fault for not properly communicating things. And it's not just me. Katie has to deal with it, Chris, Jeff, everyone deals with it. Sometimes he just doesn't really tell everyone what they should be doing. He'll say he's not the boss, even though he's definitely the boss. I will be following with the grain cart shortly. For now, though, I'm gonna make a commentary on this field. Like I said earlier, a lot of drainage issues, so it's fairly surprising that it made 80. That's definitely a testament to the yield potential of those Don Mario 34 E11s. And it also has to do with this field getting some rainfalls that maybe some of our other fields didn't. Before I zip down the road in the grain cart, I do want to say I have the scale tickets finally from those beans up northeast of town. We cut the 92 acres of Pioneer 35 T15 Enlist soybeans. Their dry average was 77 bushels per acre. That was 92 acres, and then right next door, adjacent to that, we had 215, 216 acres of Beck's 33, 37 XtendFlex beans. Don't quote me on that. It was a 3.3 Beck's XtendFlex bean. Those soybeans made 76 bushel an acre dry. One consideration there, just to defend the Beck's beans versus the Pioneer, is that those Pioneer beans we started on first, they were really wet that first day. If you remember a couple days ago, probably the beginning of this video, by the time we were cutting those Beck's beans, they were all averaging 10 to 11%. So that brings them down at least 2 to 3 bushel an acre just off of moisture weight loss. So very comparable up there, just a case of where the rain fell and where it didn't. That's really what a lot of this year's yields are coming down to. The most impressive average, though, or surprising for me, came from the field just prior to the one we just finished. This 37 acre field west of Mattoon made right at 75 bushels an acre dry. Considering it is a small field, almost entirely surrounded by big trees, which really hurts your yield, especially in a dry year, and also consisting of 3 very big ponding areas through the middle, the fact that that field made 75 is almost shocking. The beans looked phenomenal. They were yielding really well. If that same dirt was on a nice square 80, those very easily could have been 90 bushel beans. Oh yes, totally nothing suspicious about starting your fire right as the sun's going down. Allie just texted me. She said that it's pouring at home, which is about a mile to the northwest of here. It's rained multiple times there in the last 30 minutes. Hasn't rained a drop where I am, so keep cutting if we can. Yeah, my lack of window cleaning is starting to catch up with me. Probably gotta do something about that in the morning. These beans are tough.
We're trying, I guess.
Okay. Dad's eyes are usually a little bit sensitive to the lights, so when I'm actually catching the combine, I shut pretty much all of the backward facing LED lights off. I was helping him unplug the head right there, so I have everything on. He probably didn't appreciate that after the fact. Okay everyone, you pretty much know the drill at this point. We've got dry beans. We're gonna load everything up, take it to the elevator first thing in the morning. Because everything's starting to mature and be completely dried out, we'll probably be able to start first thing after we service everything. I have been looking at Dad's yield monitor on these Pioneer 37 A18s, first field of them we've been in. We had one field of them last year, and I'm not gonna show you guys because I honestly think there's something wrong. This field has looked terrible all year visually. We are out here right now, and like I said, I'm just gonna wait and see what the field average is over the scales when we're done. But what it's showing me right now looks like it could be the best beans we've cut so far this year. And if that's the case, I will literally be shocked. I don't want to be the guy who brags on the yield monitor because it's not really worth much. The field average at the end is what matters, but I'm seeing triple digits right now. Maybe something's wrong with Dad's yield monitor. Definitely a possibility. He does get a little haywire at times, so his combine probably does the same. I'm not going to bore you with anything else unless there's some crazy development. As always, everyone, I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!